Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Geo, and this week's story is called I Edged Closer to the Faint Scent of His Cologne. Home. Welcome to LDBM Nubium, as in Lunar Defense Base Mare de Nubium, or DB Noobs for short. Noobs. It rhymes with tubes, as in Noobs. We are officially newbies. If somebody called us nubs, rhyming with cubs, somebody in navy blue crisps will probably break their nose. It's morning, still dark, and it is cool. It's always cool in the dome. But not in our bed. A warm blanket and a down comforter lay over us, and I snuggled closer to my love. At 6'2", Dallin is taller than me by 6 inches, with golden brown eyes and hair the color of wheat ready to harvest. It curled a little when he let it grow. My love. My boyfriend. He had a couple of old bruises, a rib that was still sensitive, and a replacement tooth. But he made it back to me. He softly snored, but every time I mentioned his snoring, Dallin never believed me. It's a comforting sound because it means he's here, next to me. I missed it when he was deployed. Only Hubble, my dog, snored louder. The old boy lay on our feet, keeping our toes warm, though he didn't know it. Dallin laid on his side, facing me. His unshaven face had an odd line on it from where he had lain on the pillow funny. I edged closer into his warmth, to the faint scent of his cologne. Him. I loved him, and would do anything for him. He stirred a little as my body nestled next to his, and Dallin rolled over to lay flat on his back. I don't think he was aware when I laid my head on his shoulder or placed my hand over his chest to feel his heartbeat. His bare skin was warm, smooth, though he had a little hair on his pecs. It was the last time we would be like this. His ship, the Copernicus, lifted into space today, and he wouldn't be back this way for years. A slight snort interrupted his snore, and his arm moved to hold me before he drifted back to sleep. We had met a year and a half ago, an accidental encounter outside the commissary. He had worn his crisp navy blues. I was more casual in my khakis and pale linen shirt. They wouldn't let me in the service because my right leg wouldn't move right. It had a birth defect that surgery could only correct so far. Because of that, I couldn't go into space. That didn't matter to Dallin. It was love at first sight for me. They say that doesn't exist, but for me it did. We talked for a couple of hours, went for a midnight walk under the street lamps, and took the tram to the upper level of the dome and watched the earth. The next day we met for lunch at a small Italian bistro, and I fell into his pasta. We laughed and shared mine. He loved Hubble, loved the moon rock beads I made, loved the cozy street corner my apartment overlooked. Our first kiss was that afternoon. He walked me to my street, and in the middle of the noonday rush, pulled me aside and kissed me. Can you tell if someone loved you by a kiss? A quick kiss is something a person would give their aunt because either they had to or they wanted to say hello. An extended kiss with a meaningful glance and a whispered, "Can I see you again?" meant something more. We only had a week together before he left for 3 weeks of training. His gift before he left was a cane made out of military-grade steel. I made him a beaded bracelet of polished moonrock. I knew a few tricks that brought out the colors. He might have only gone to the other side of the moon, but we called each other daily, sometimes twice. He wanted to hear about my job, my family, my life. It didn't matter what I said or what we talked about. He just wanted to hear me talk. I wanted to hear all his stories about space. The day after his training ended, Dallin showed up at my work with a dozen roses and a bottle of wine imported from LDB Tycho. He asked if he could stay with me because he deployed in 2 weeks. I said yes. That night was the first night we shared a bed, and we enjoyed each other's company every night until he left. I followed the news feeds for any mention of the lunar frigate Copernicus. We called each other every night while he was gone. 2 months had never gone so slow. He returned and surprised me at my work. Dallin held me as I cried on his shoulder, and I nearly crushed him as I held him tight, while my entire office watched. My boss gave me the afternoon off. We went back to the bistro that afternoon. This time I didn't mess up Dallin's pasta, and we celebrated with cheesecake. He had a month leave while they outfitted the Copernicus. Civilians don't normally go on board one of the ships, but he took me. Right of rank. Dallin had been promoted and was the new XO. His crisp navy blues got a little bit of decoration and a new patch on the shoulder. I met the CO, a lot of the guys, and they even let me sit in one of the pilot's chairs. Dallin carried me over all the knee knockers and showed me his quarters, a comfy room he shared with 7 of his closest friends. Only the CO had the luxury of a private room. We had 2 weeks of pure happiness until the asteroid hit the Tokyo megalopolis and everybody was recalled to their ships, especially XOs, especially Dallin. The orbital colonies around Jupiter declared their independence from the Terran corporations and had built mass drivers to launch small asteroids at Earth. They had launched a sneak attack that no orbital survey could detect and gotten lucky. 5 million people were obliterated in an instant. Another 10 million were injured and homeless, and millions died from illness and exposure. At the end of the docking tomb, where we said goodbye, Dallin gave me a kiss and cried. I gave him a new beaded bracelet. I knew it wasn't regulation to wear jewelry or bracelets, but Dallin put it on anyway. The worst day of my life was watching the Copernicus lift off and take my Dallin back to space, to war. We couldn't call every night because they were on communications blackout. Dallin never stopped making messages, nor I mine. I would get 30 messages at once, and I would spend all night watching them. I assumed he did the same with mine. I tracked the war as best the news feeds would allow, but they seldom mentioned the names of ships. The battle raged for months, and I saved a lot of money because I didn't eat. My co-workers worried about me, brought me food they had made or treats, but I couldn't take more than a bite or two. Word came in of an attack. Several ships were involved in a skirmish with the renegade colonies. A frigate took a hit, the Copernicus. The images showed the ship with a nasty hole in its side. I gripped the cane Dallin had given me and waited. Several people died from the attack, but the news feeds didn't list any names, only that the loved ones would be notified at the earliest convenience. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. When I was at work, I only stared at the news vids. When I was at my apartment, I kept the door open because I didn't want the hated knock where the base chaplain said, "I'm sorry for your loss." To distract myself, I made a replica of an old-style frigate with sails and cannons and called it Copernicus. I made tiny people and placed them about the deck. I made 2 more people, one in crisp navy blues and another with a pale linen shirt and a silver cane. Those I placed in the very front, watching for my Copernicus to bring Dallin back to me. I lost 15 pounds and cried myself to sleep every night. The renegades targeted 4 more cities with their mass drivers: the Mumbai megalopolis, the New York megalopolis, and the Sao Paulo megalopolis. All were destroyed. And LDB Tycho here on the moon. Tycho with its wineries, beautiful Tycho with its gardens. destroyed. Tycho was not that far from LDB M Nubium. From me. Casualties were enormous. Earth survivors were astronomical. There wasn't any survivors from Tycho. Once the atmosphere was compromised that bad, nobody survives. If the asteroid that had hit them had been a fraction of a percentage off, I could have died and never seen Dallin again. I didn't sleep very well after that. I guess the renegades must have realized that whatever cause they fought for had killed more people than all the asteroid and moon colonies possessed, because they surrendered. The war had ended as quickly as it had started. But I still hadn't heard from Dallin. Nobody showed up on my door with the dreaded knock. I hadn't heard anything about the Copernicus for weeks. The happiest day of my life was 2 weeks ago. The day the Copernicus brought Dallin back to me. The ship was a little worn. They had to place an emergency patch over a bulkhead that looked ugly, but kept most of the people alive, including my Dallin. The Copernicus's communications array was gone. I don't have long, Dallin said, the first night he was back. We sat at our bistro with cheesecake and pasta. They're building a permanent presence in Jupiter's orbit, the orbital platform around Io, the OPIO. We both smiled at the silly name. I've been pulled off the Copernicus and assigned to get it started. It's a promotion, kind of. I'll be the OPIOXO. But you've only gotten back, I said. I know, Dallin said. It's a long-term posting, too. I'll be gone years. Years? I said. How long do we have to be together? I clutched his hand as tight as I could. Until the Copernicus is ready to launch, he said. 2 weeks, maybe 3. My chest suddenly felt hollow, and I held him. 2 weeks? I hope they don't get your ship fixed for 6 months. I know, Dallin said. This is the happiest I've ever been, and it's because of you. Don't go, I said. I have to. Orders. Can't you take vacation or something so we can be together a little while longer? I wish I could, Dallin said. This time it's different. Our families can come with us. You and Hubble can come with me. I bit my knuckle and tried not to cry. He knelt before me and held out a small steel circle. It's on the frontier, but we can be together. Come with me. They repaired the Copernicus faster than expected. Last night was our last night on Luna. Hubble lay at our feet, the steel ring on my finger, my 50 pounds of belongings packed and ready to take with us, my cane lying on it. Dallin stirred and smiled as I held him. He caressed my cheek with his left hand, his steel ring warm. I kissed his palm. Are you ready to see space? He said, and kissed my neck. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for this story. I appreciate you listening. Thank you, and peace.